I've tested a lot of wire strippers over the years, some that barely work, others that feel way better than they should. Price and reputation don't always mean you're getting the best of the best, but out of the 30 that I've tested and tried, these are the 6 that I'd actually buy again. If I lost all my tools tomorrow, these are 6 that I would actually purchase again and use. And starting off at number 1, we have one of the major surprises of this list, one of the new favorites, and I can't explain to you how much of a difference these have made. This is the Crescent wire stripper. Crescent makes some fantastic tools. This one here is no different. I just got a ton of their tools to test out some of their pliers and stuff. This is the one that I'm like, wow, these are fantastic. This is going to be a very low budget as well. These are very inexpensive. And the thing that really differentiates these for me is going to be the price for the product that you get, okay? These just strip better. I've used a lot of strippers. I have over 30 strippers. I will tag the video of me covering all of them at the end. This one's not in it. I've had these for about a month now, and I've been using them pretty consistently. And I have to say, I'm still incredibly impressed with these. There's a couple of things that I do love about them. I'll cover all of these different things and with all the different strippers, all the features and functions that they have. But the thing that blows me away about these is the stripping. When I tell you there's just a difference in how well these strip compared to pretty much any other stripper that I've used, I'm not kidding. There's a little bit of a click to it. And so much so, like, it feels drastically different. I thought it's got to be scoring the copper. You know, it's got to be too, like, clamped down on it. No, it's not the case. I tested it. I tried it. There is no scoring on the copper, but these just absolutely have the perfect fit. They're machined incredibly well. Again, I've been using these for about a little bit over a month, and there's still stripping extremely well. So I'm a huge fan of that. That is the main portion of this that I absolutely love. The other part that I love, and you'll see this later on when I mention probably my favorite set of strippers that are going to be a lot more expensive, but they're just my favorite overall. Outside of that, a couple things that I love about these, they're the heavier duty style. So these aren't going to be like the thinner, cheaper sets that you see from Klein. I'll show you a set that's coming up here in a little bit like this. This is what you see traditionally. And while that works for a lot of people, I definitely prefer more of a heavy duty, high quality set of strippers. And the price tag on these is just insanely low for what you get, not only for that perfect stripping, but with the thicker set of strippers as well. Couple features on these that are cool. They do have a wider head for twisting wires. Not as wide as a set of linemen's, but definitely not thin like the other sets of cheaper wire strippers, okay? I really like that. It's also got a good range. It goes from 16 to 8 solid and 20 to 10 stranded, which is a big deal. My favorite set of wire strippers, the only downfall to them is that they don't go to 10 stranded, which is something I see pretty frequently for commercial lighting. Typically, those will be upsized for voltage drop because they go over longer runs. So that's one thing that this stripper has that I don't have on my favorite stripper, which is why I've actually been using these frequently. The main function for any stripper is going to be stripping, and that's what you want it to be the best at. It doesn't make sense, right? If you're going to have a tool that does something, it's going to want to do that the best. The other features that come behind it are definitely secondary, but this one does also have some pretty cool secondary features. Cutting is another one. I'm not going to say these are the best cutters in the world. This is just 14.2, so if we go ahead and take these cables here together, it cuts, and it cuts well, but they're not overwhelming. There's no special cutting on this. They are shears, which is nice. You want to have shears on your wire strippers. Shears just cut the softer conductors better. Outside of that, I mean, it's an okay cut, especially compared to the rest of them on this list. There's better cutters. However, the stripping is probably one of my favorites about this set here. They also have 632 and 832 screw cutters. So you just thread them into here and then you chop them off. That's pretty standard. All of these are going to have that. I'm going to mention it on all of them. And then in this jaw up here, there is a round section too for grabbing like nuts or bolts or any round object. It's got some teeth in there. To me, that is definitely not very important because who cares? Again, these are for stripping. So stripping, cutting, those are going to be pretty common things. Grabbing, twisting wires, different things like that. Yes. I'm not going to be using these on nuts and bolts ever. It just doesn't make sense. I always am going to have the proper tool for that, which is going to be a set of Cobras or whatever it is going to be in that moment. Whether that's a pliers wrench, Cobra, Crescent wrench, you name it, it's going to be that. I do really like these handles as well. This black material here is like it's got a softer rubber. You can see there's actually some like stippling in here. The grip feels absolutely fantastic on these. They also have a pretty round shape here to the handle, which is nice. You can see there's quite a large bump out here, so you don't have to worry about your hand slipping. Very easy to grab. They feel good in my hand. The handles are high quality. I really, really like their handles. One of my favorite new sets of handles. They all have the portion back here in the back on either side for tethering or for hanging, I guess, if you want to hang your stuff up somewhere. But you are able to tether this. The one thing that's a little bit different, which I guess it's pretty common because your linemen's have something similar. There is a gap in this, like in between the jaws here. So when it comes to grabbing wire, you will be able to grab it for the most part. But there's just a little bit of wiggle room, and you'll see like I can actually move this copper a little bit in here when it's just the copper. This is 14 solid, so for your 12, it's not going to be an issue. Just something I've noticed. It's kind of weird. Again, your linemen's are going to have the same similar thing where there's just a little bit of a gap that is on purpose. That's not a quality control issue. They do that. People like that, I guess. I don't know. Personally, I don't know the whole need for it. I just know that these strip well, and that is the reason that I'm bringing these up number one. I've never seen them anywhere else, and I think I should probably. I mean, these things are awesome. They're extremely inexpensive. They've held up so far. I cannot speak to the longevity of these like long term yet. However, I've had no issues with the quality changing after having them for a month. Definitely worth checking out from Crescent. Guys, this is a sweet set of wire strippers. Now, coming in at number 2, Ideal, the T-Series wire strippers. This set right here is not the Reflex version that I like. I can't find mine right now. I don't know if you guys have seen the channel before. You know that we're in a completely different space. And that's because I moved down to Dallas, Texas. Super excited. It's awesome. We're in a completely new house. So a new studio, which is just another room in the house. No basements in Texas. So that's fun. I can actually find the Reflex strippers because I just moved. And in trying to get another video out this week, because I missed one last week, I don't like to miss weeks. Definitely not going to miss 2. I do just have this other version of the Ideal wire stripper. Now, this is the next version of an inexpensive wire stripper, and then we'll go up to a few more, and then we'll get to my favorite 2 sets of wire strippers outside of the Crescent for a reason. Some people just prefer this style of stripper, this thinner set, the more inexpensive set, which again, the Crescent is the same thing, but it's a lot higher quality. It's a bigger build. You can see how thick these are compared to the Crescent. Very, very thin. This is just what some people like. It's not what I prefer. However, I definitely see the appeal, and I definitely have preferences when it comes to this style of stripper. And Ideals just seem to hold their edge a lot longer. They strip extremely well. In my personal opinion, I definitely prefer to avoid the Kleins. I definitely would go with the Ideals series stripper. For one, the stripping, again, just holds its edge. They stay sharp. They're extremely precision. Like, the machining is just fantastic on these set of strippers. Not only that, but I like the handles a lot better too. These are a little bit thicker right here, right? You can see where the bump out is. They have some cushion to them. And then this yellow isn't just a dipped rubber. It's got a little bit of texture to it. Just makes it easier to hold. It's also got the curve to it here. The Reflex T-stripper from Ideal does have a little bit of a different shape. That is the version that I really prefer for this style. But again, they just stay sharp for a long time. The cutters on these are not going to be as good as the Crescents or the thicker ones, but the stripping is very, very similar. And I do feel like it's a lot sharper than the Kleins. So we'll go ahead and cut these off here. When it comes to stripping, again, that is the main focus of the whole tool. These just strip better, in my opinion, than the basic set of Kleins. That being said, the cutters on these aren't very large. You're not going to get a ton in there. They're not extremely strong. They probably rival the Crescent, which should cut better since it's a bigger set of pliers. It's a nicer set of pliers. but the stripping on this is pretty much identical to that of the Crescent, maybe just a hair under. However, long term, these work, they last, they have a very long history of having longevity. I've had probably 4 sets of these total. I'm also really good at losing tools, which is fun. And these are going to be my number one for the inexpensive, but the smaller set of strippers. Anything from ideal when it comes to strippers outside of their larger ones. I don't care for those. They're too big, too clunky. These are fantastic. Now, the one set of Kleins that I will get, and this is going to be our number 3, would be this set here. Not for the fact of the stripping. However, these are insulated, and this is the first and probably still the only affordable set of insulated wire strippers that you can find. Now, when it comes to insulated tools here in America, they've just typically been outrageously expensive. This set is the one that changes that. This is an actual affordable set of insulated wire strippers. I actually like these handles. They are very ergonomic. There's quite a big bump on this when it comes to the front here, so your hand's not going to slip. That's typical for anything insulated because obviously you don't want to accidentally ground out on your hand. Not fun. However, insulated tools typically from American companies have those really large orange handles on them, which I'm not a huge fan of. They're just not my favorite. But these here are actually, you can actually work with these. They look good. They're very easily available. They come in sets too with the linemen's diagonal cutters, strippers, 2 sets of screwdrivers, and I think it's around $100, which for a set of insulated is really pretty great. The orange on this is a hard plastic, and the gray is a softer rubber, so you actually do get some texture, not nearly as much as the Crescent or the Ideal. However, these are insulated, which is going to be the only set on this list that actually are. And honestly, in my opinion, when it comes to insulated sets, this is probably my number 1 set. I don't have a set that I actually love. Our number 1 on the list, there's not an insulated version of it, or that would definitely be the one for me. However, it would also be probably twice as expensive as these. So if you're looking for a good affordable set of insulated strippers, this is the one. There is no lock on this, so you can take this spring out, which I personally just don't love to modify stuff like that. I probably will eventually. However, it also just makes it hard for showing you guys on the channel, because I'll modify something, completely forget about that feature being on there, and then it's kind of hard to explain, and then you guys get something different than what I'm showing you. But it really doesn't affect it a ton, because when I put these in my pouch, I put them in with the face down because the handles are so large and it typically holds them together. Honestly, I don't have a massive issue with that, but they don't have, a lot of the insulated stuff don't have the lock on it because it's just something to fold over, and it's just possible for it to hit something and ground out. They just don't like moving parts on insulated tools. Seems pretty simple. This is going to be the higher set of wires as well. This only goes to 12 stranded, not the 10 stranded. So that part of it is a little bit rough. However, if you're not doing a ton of commercial lighting, this really isn't going to matter for you, especially not if you're doing something once or twice and you're using 10 stranded. You can just use a set of shears. However, if you're doing it all day, it makes a lot more sense to have an actual 10 stranded on your set of strippers. Now, this is just the basic set of wire strippers from Klein. This is their classic traditional Klein curve wire stripper. They've just replaced the handles with insulated handles, obviously tested them, done all that stuff that they need to. So there's a 632 and an 832 screw cutter on there as well, which works absolutely just fine. Outside of that, nothing incredibly special about these. Really, the thing that differentiates these is that they're 1,000 volt rated. So you can use these on live work, or sometimes it's nice. A lot of my tools are insulated that aren't for live work. I just use them on the daily. I have a beater set. I have an actual true insulated set that has really good integrity. But with doing service work like I do, it just makes sense to have your tools insulated, because you'll be in a box and your circuit may be off, but there's other circuits that are on, different things like that. Sometimes people tie into the wrong neutral, and you never know what's coming back on that neutral that you're untying. If there's another circuit on there, some of the facilities that you work in are just an absolute mess, and you never know. But this set's going to be number 3, and coming in at number 4, the Crocs Jr. The Crocs Jr., are another set. This is going to be the last set of the thinner sets of wire strippers. Definitely a very unique style. They're not going to be a ton more expensive, but these have some features on them that are just really, really cool. One thing that I have noticed is that these are a lot smaller, probably similar to the Ideal here. So this is going to be a very, very short set of strippers. You're not going to get a ton of leverage, but they're strippers and you shouldn't need leverage. That is for sure. Now these strip well, probably not as well as the Crescent or the Ideal, probably a little bit better than the Klein. However, the cutters on these are a lot better. So we go ahead and chop those up. I like the cutters on these significantly more. So especially if you're cutting a lot with these actually go down to 8 solid, which is crazy. And they go up to 22 solid. This set right here is just it's like a thinner set, but they're made, these are somewhere in between the thin sets, the very inexpensive sets, and the really nice sets that are a little bit heavier duty. It feels a lot more heavy duty. You can see how much larger the cutter is on here too. It's just got a little bit more space. It's got a little bit more of a round shape to it. These just feel a lot different in my hand than the other sets of cheaper or less expensive wire strippers. The handle is also a lot different. So if you have small hands, this one's going to be a lot better for you. Instead of curving out, it actually curves in, which gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of play with these. The other thing I like about this is the front section is a lot longer than the other sets of strippers, which is nice. It's more similar to a set of needle nose, which it doesn't see, it's probably close to twice as long. There's not a significant amount of space here, but these are a lot more similar to what you could use for needle nose versus like the Kleins. There's just not very much space to grab, especially it's not nearly as thin either. So if we go ahead and compare the two styles here, there's a little bit more room to actually grab stuff with. Just what I've noticed. Another part that I like about this, the lock on this is good. It does not get in the way. It's not falling over. There's a spring right here in the middle, the lock right here. It's very easy to hit from both sides. So if you have them left hand or right hand, your thumb's gonna be able to get to them. You're gonna be able to close these, open these with no problem. And up here at the top, this little clear part is glow in the dark, which is kind of nice sometimes, especially when you're an electrician and you're working in the dark. The other cool thing about this is if you do residential, they have, these are the Crocs Jr. and the Crocs Sr, if you will. It's this set right here. These have the NM cutter on them, and you can see there's only one space, and it actually does 12 and 14 two together, which is, I still don't understand what kind of magic they use to do that. But it does allow for you to strip both 12 and 14 gauge 12-2 very easily. I don't know how they do it in the same hole, but they do. Racketeers makes a ton of other cool stuff that I love, very specific to the electrical field. You've probably used their racks for wire spools. Their stud ball is something I always keep in my bag because it's such a little tiny stud finder. It just makes life really easy, doesn't take up much space. The Crocs are no different. This is a very high quality tool. Every time I make a video about any type of wire stripper, everybody's like, you have to try the Crocs. You have to try the Crocs. I have them. I love them. And there's a reason that everybody raves about them. Definitely one of the top of the thin sets of wire strippers. And like I said, if you're a resi guy and you strip NM a lot, go for the Crocs, the bigger size. They are a lot bigger than the juniors. They really just have the one hole up here. I don't understand how you do both in one. If you know how, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it, but they're a sweet set of wire strippers. And we're getting into our final two sets, which is what I personally prefer. It's going to be a battle of the brands here. Number 5, not my favorite, but my second favorite is going to be the Klein heavy duty wire strippers. Now these are kind of slowly being phased out by the Crescent, but I don't know. It's honestly, it's hard to say. Either of these sets I would definitely buy again. I actually like to use either set when it comes to the daily stuff. Like if I have these in my pouch and I go and use these for the day, I'm happy. There's no frustration. This set right here is a lot heavier duty than their other thinner sets. You can see it's got a pretty thick head for twisting wire. It also goes down to 10 stranded, which is nice. And then I really like the cutters on these. The cutters on these are fantastic. So we'll go ahead and cut all 3. And that's going to cut a decent amount better than any of the other ones on this list, minus the Racketeers Crocs. Okay. Stripping on this is absolutely fine. So the stripping on this is mid. It is okay. It works. It's definitely going to be just in line with their regular base wire strippers. It doesn't have the same click that the Ideal or the Crescent have. However, it works. You're not going to have a ton of issues. Personally, especially for me, I will say during doing service work, it's a little bit different too. Having that very, very precise cut is nice because sometimes you get wires that are hot. Sometimes you get wires that just don't want to play ball. That's really all there is to it. And so it's nice to have a very, very great set of wire strippers that is like to the T. This set here is great. They cut a lot better than the other sets of thinner wire strippers. And these handles are pretty fantastic too. This is a softer rubber, so it's got quite a bit of texture to it with the Klein curve here. But I like these handles probably better than any of the other Klein handles. And finally, the GOAT, Knipex wire strippers. Yes, it's pronounced Knipex. These are by far my favorite. These are also a lot more expensive. They are what they are, but for what you get for the money, this is the one that I'm buying every single time. That being said, you also can't find these in stores ever. When it comes to cutting, these blast past every set of wire strip. I mean, these are 10 levels above every other cutter, you know, on any wire stripper I've ever tried, period. Okay? The shears on these are phenomenal, and they even cut MC. So if we open these up, there's a spring that stops here for your regular wire stripper stuff, but you can open them up quite a bit wider. They cut through MC like butter. So any type of regular cable that you're cutting is going to be absolutely fine. They also have the larger head to them, so you can twist your wires together. They do only go down to 12 stranded, which is the only part about this that I really don't love. And the stripping on these is fantastic. That being said, if you're getting a pair of wire strippers and you're like, you have the budget to get whatever you want and you don't want just cheap tools, this is the set I'll tell everyone to always get. They're fantastic. They feel great in my hand. I wish they had their new handles on these. That would make these just a little bit better, or the insulated version, which they have in Europe. They don't have that currently for us here in America, which it's got to be coming soon. It's been like a couple years now. I'm waiting on it. And the screw cutters on these are the only ones on this list that are threadless, which is cool. Personally, I don't really care that much about it. Some people love it. I feel like I don't cut screws that often, so it doesn't make that big of a difference. People love it. So that part of it is cool. I've also cut quite a few screws with this and not had any issues with the threads being messed up. It is machined really well still. The other thing I like about this, probably my favorite locking mechanism, you can see it right here where my thumb is, and there are some grips on both sides, so where my thumb is and where my finger is up here. So it's very easy to get to no matter where you have these at in your hand, left hand or right hand. Not had any issues with them unlocking on their own or staying locked. It's pretty smooth. They also have the portion on this that has the round grabber up here. I could care less about that. I still don't know why people put that on there. But overall, great set of wire strippers. And if budget's not a constraint for you, this is the set you want. Unless you want to go below 10 stranded or 10 stranded or below, then I'm going to make a suggestion probably at this point that you go with the Crescent. I'm so impressed with these, especially for the price point. Absolutely mind-blowing. If you're looking at getting a new set of strippers soon and you're looking for something different and new, I've never seen these anywhere. I just saw them and I was like, they look like the style that I like. Got them, tested them. I love them. I've been using them. So they're phenomenal. Great set of wire strippers. This has got to be the GOAT. There's no wire stripper like this, though. The cutting on this is phenomenal. And they're from Knipex, so you know they're going to last for forever. I think I've had this set for 2 years. I had another set before this that I gave away to an apprentice when I left the first company that I was with. He loved them. I love them. They're like such a cool set of strippers. And if you want to see my full loadout video, you guys can head up here to watch this video. Remember, it's all for his glory, and I'll see you guys on the next one.